I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, I'm delighted to introduce you to a very talented author. His name is David Marks, and he is bringing us into a captivating world. A book called Boomsters, an unexpected adventure. Set in the bustling city of Chicago, also known as Chi-Town, known for its deep shadows and organized crime, the story revolves around David Blazen. After a lifetime of routine, Blazen, now a retiree, is in search of a new purpose. His quest leads him down an unexpected path as he becomes a self-proclaimed detective, venturing into a world filled with suspense, intrigue, and unexpected humor. And within a first week, he encounters a baffling case, a murder disguised as suicide. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. David, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Well, thank you for doing what you're doing, taking first-time authors and putting them on the spotlight. Actually, 50 years a businessman, I've never been on TV, 6 months an author, and here I am, not in the spotlight, on Spotlight. That's
Exactly.
it's an honor that you chose me to do this. And the book is very, very exciting.
Well, the book is great. It's such an interesting tale. Why don't we give the folks at home first a big picture? Tell them about Boomsters. Is it a little bit of you? Is this like
Well, I think it parallels me, but it also parallels anybody that is thinking about retirement or goes into retirement.
Mhm.
One day a businessman, it may happen, well, it will happen. Today you're an announcer. One day you won't be announcing. You have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
So my goal in Boomsters was to create a character that makes a difference. And that was Detective Blaze. A 70-year-old detective is not going to be recognized in the real world. So it was almost like when you were a child, you wanted to be Superman or Perry Mason or the Lone Ranger. You had your little gun if you were going to be the sheriff in the town.
Yeah.
Boomsters is a fellow that wants to be a detective. He won't be a detective in the eyes of the world because no one would certify him. But circumstances, he prints a few business cards, and circumstances takes him into a world of intrigue. The book embraces the mafia. It embraces the Jewish gang lords, the up-and-coming mayor of the city of Chicago. It's about a time when crime is running rampant, but not the way crime is running today. This was the Al Capone type of crime that he embraces, and it's very generational, although any age would certainly enjoy Boomsters.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chicago is such a great setting. One, you're familiar with it because you spend a large part of your life there. And two, it's an iconic city, like you said, that's, notorious for its organized crime, for its corrupt politics, as well as its beautiful infrastructure in the Great Lake as well.
We set the stage, and it's very graphic for the landscape. And I think people that haven't been to Chicago, we're getting a lot of reviews, and a lot of the reviews are mentioning Chicago and the landscape. And those that have traveled away are saying, I'm missing Chicago when I read your book. The temple of the book is very much organized crime.
Mm-hmm. Have you envisioned Boomsters as a movie or a series, perhaps?
I think it would make a wonderful movie. I will tell you that creating Boomsters, I did not know. It was done, by the way, with my thumb on my iPhone notes. I come from a generation that didn't know how to type. I always had in my business world a support staff. So 300,000 words over the 3.5-year period was done with this little thumb because I didn't know how to text my grandchildren. The idea of doing Boomsters was not part of my focus when I retired, but the idea of creating a character, not knowing whether the book would be good or bad, but was I excited when I came #1 with Book Fest. They gave me the #1 award for mystery. And
Wonderful.
the Kirkus Review, and this is why I invite your readers to, or your listeners to enjoy reading this, the Kirkus Review said this would be a perfect Coen Brother movie. It
Yeah.
rivals things like Fargo. That got me so excited, Logan.
That's quite a rave. That's quite a comparison, but it's also kind of spot on because it's kind of dark, your story, but it's also funny, So what was it like trying to intertwine, elements of criminality and humor?
Well, there's a lot of laugh out loud moments, and this is what I'm hearing. And the reason there's laugh out loud moments is exactly what you said. We're taking drama and then easing drama. But I think even bigger than that, Logan, is that we're relating. We're human beings relating. One of the things that Kirk has said, and I don't want to give my book away,
Mhm.
but when I met the crime lord of the big crime lord of the mafia, and this was circumstantial. It wasn't somebody that thought he was going to be this detective, but
Right.
when circumstances took me there, I'm 70 years old. I had to go to the bathroom. I'm asking this crime lord if I can be excused. And he's saying, what the, I can't use the language on TV, but you
Right.
can imagine what he's saying to me, trying to figure out what a 70-year-old detective is even doing in this world.
Exactly, exactly. That's awesome. Funny, funny scene for sure. Now,
Mhm.
at one point, David, the protagonist, has a moral conundrum when he has to adopt some criminal methods to achieve justice. Tell us a little bit about this scene and a little bit what you hope the readers will take away from it.
What the readers would take away from it, and it starts early in the book, is trying to observe where, the days of the cell phones now and smartphones and everybody doing their various tasks, whether it be TikTok or Instagram, people aren't observing each other. And this detective came into play because he was observing. He was in a health club and he was observing some steps and some people going up those steps. And the mystery and his curiosity evolved. What I would remind the readers is that there is a lot going on besides looking down at specifically your electronic devices.
Exactly. In fact, there's a whole lot more life out there than
Yes.
staring into this phone 24/7, but it is addictive. Guilty as charged at times, for sure. Who are some of your detective influences? I know myself, I'm very caught up in anything noir. I love, Mike Hammer. I love, Philip Marlowe, Harry O from TV with David Jansen back in the
Oh,
70s.
yes, The Fugitives. That was
And The
terrific.
Fugitive as well. Yeah, I guess he had two runs as a detective, right? David Jansen. Although he was the fugitive in The Fugitive, right? No, it was the
Yeah,
man with the
David
arm.
Jensen
That's
that
right.
was the fugitive, yes.
Right, right.
And he was looking for the one-armed man.
Exactly, exactly. So I was going to ask you, who are your influences?
Well, I would say some of the people that my ratings have been great. And this is a new world for me, totally. I'm a businessman turned author, first time author, thinking of using this thumb again and going to a second time. But the couple negative reviews said that this shouldn't happen. There's too many coincidences. And I would say, can James Bond happen? Is he going to take over and blow up? So
Exactly.
if people look at this book the way it was meant to be, then they would understand that all these detective shows tie things together and not to look for reality, but to look for fun,
Right.
action. And can it happen to a senior going into the places, the dark places of the city of Chicago? Uh, I believe that the reader would learn that the excitement of this book is the journey itself.
Right, right. Exactly. A couple of things there. One, never listen to negative reviews. Two, one of the best negative reviews of all time was about Fred Astaire, where they said he can't act, he can't sing, and he can dance a little.
All
And
right, there you go.
all of
I
the,
love that. That's very good.
it's true,
You
right?
mind if I quote that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, all of art, whether it's a novel or whether it's a movie or a series, takes some kind of suspension of disbelief. because there's
Yes.
always factors in there, like you said, from James Bond jumping out of a helicopter in a squirrel suit and landing precisely on top of a building and swigging a martini as he goes and meets the beautiful girl and kills the bad guys. But this must have been fun. Was it fun living in David Blaze's head for a while when you were creating the character and creating the landscape and the setting and so forth?
That's why I did it.
Yeah.
I never intended to write a book. I'm not an academic. I have learning disabilities as a child. I just took on this challenge with my thumb on my iPhone notes. I would give it to my life partner, Mary, and she would read what I did that day. After 2.5 years, she said, David, this is good. You've been doing this a long time, 2 hours every morning. Let me turn it over to somebody who can read it and see what they think. It was a young man, but he thought like an old man. Somehow I got lucky and found a man by the name of Mark Zareski. He never edited a book either. He said, though I like this, I would like to take on the challenge. Now, it was my story, it was my creative, but he needed to add the timelines because when you're typing a book in your iPhone notes, you kind of never go back.
Yeah.
I always intended to write a book. I never intended the book would be published.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now you're toying with another book. Would it be a sequel to Boomsters or would it be something completely different?
We created a Detective Blaze. He's still up and running. It would have to be a sequel. It would have to be the same gentleman doing. I almost became Detective Blaze. People at my club here in California, I say, "Oh, there's Detective Blaze." My friends have read it. The referencing that, so that's become very much part of who I am today. I'm living both lives.
Yep, that's wonderful. It's great. Live as many lives as you possibly can. Um, would you set the next novel in Chicago as well, or would you perhaps have him go out west and explore what might be lurking under the cactuses in Palm Springs or something?
You know what, Logan, my readers will be able to answer that question because it kind of is in the book.
It gives you
There is an entree to the next episode.
Okay.
But at 76 years old, the journey has to be in the creative, keeping your creative. In the year between writing this first book, and now I have to re-energize myself, get back into the moment, because writing a book is really about turning everything else away and getting into a zone, focusing and becoming the character you are in the book.
It might be asking to choose among children, but do you prefer your life as a writer more than the life as a businessman, or just like this is the right profession now at the right time?
Well, as I've aged, I've had more fun. I have to tell you, I did a local in my community book club. And as an author versus a trinket salesman, I created trinkets I did lots of big companies. And I had a rather successful business that still is going on today. I never had the thrills that I'm having as an author.
Awesome.
So yes, I enjoyed my career. I'm thankful for my career, and this is what I will say to other retirees, having that curve in the road, that stop gap, the day that you're not, take on something that's impossible for you. Write a musical, write a book, but take on this journey because the journey is so much fun.
Exactly. Yeah. When you're not tied to a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 7 corporate world anymore, it's a time to open up your horizons and explore something new and do something you always dreamed of, or come up with a dream and follow it and pursue it. Very, very inspiring. David Marks has written a captivating book. It is called Boomsters, an unexpected adventure. It is set in Chicago, one of my favorite cities, known for its deep shadows and organized crime, and the story revolves around David Blaze. After a lifetime of routine, he is now a retiree, and he's about to pick up a badge, albeit perhaps imaginary. He is a detective nonetheless. David, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope your listeners will enjoy this. I know they will enjoy this book. A lot of exciting all the way through.
Absolutely. A lot of excitement, a lot of adventure, a lot of vicarious thrills, and of course, a lot of laughs as well. The links are below this interview. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.